Well, ChannelSight has just secured $7 million in debt financing, and the digital shelf analytics service is eyeing significant growth over the coming years. John Beckett, a co-founder of ChannelSight, joins us now to discuss how his company is enabling businesses to measure the effectiveness of their marketing campaigns across all online channels. John, before we discuss ChannelSight, it's noteworthy that while you were still at school, you built a website for Ryanair. How did that opportunity come about?
I did, and that's now back in 2000, over 20 years ago. But I did. That was as a result of a fourth-year company that I set up to build websites. And I ultimately knew one of the directors through a part-time job I had working in an old computer company called Gateway 2000, which is long gone. And he remembered that I was doing this kind of work, and they got lots of quotes from large agencies to do the work, and they were pretty high. And he asked me to come in and meet the team to see if I could quote to do the work. And my quote was significantly lower, as you might imagine, and they decided to take a shot on me.
And what did you learn from that experience, and did it provide you with clarity about the career path that you might pursue?
Yeah, well, I decided that I didn't want to go to university, to college, and I wanted to use the opportunity that I had to build a business and to try my luck. So I did the Leaving Cert, and so I had the option of going back to college, but I decided to run the business and just see how much I could learn. I had the idea that if I was going to make a massive failure of this, better to do it when I was young. But also, if it was going to be a success, that there was no better time to grasp that opportunity that I had at the time.
And in the years prior to ChannelSight, where had your career taken you?
So I've worked in the tech sector for my whole career, and running my own business. So that business where we built the Ryanair site, it's a company called Airtight, and that still runs today. I don't run it myself, but that's still operating now. So ChannelSight was actually a spin-off from Airtight technology. So that was the ultimately where it kind of started, was as a spin-off. And there's a lot of uncertainty with any startup. So we tried to minimize the uncertainty with that startup by building the technology in-house and, as a kind of a side project with Airtight until we got some clients and validated that it works.
And in 2013, of course, you co-founded ChannelSight with Niall O'Gorman. But what inspired you to actually start that business?
Well, I've known Niall, again, to go back to 2000. I've known Niall since my Gateway days when we worked together there. And he approached me with an idea for a product. And it was our where to buy technology, this button that people press to find a supplier where they can buy the product that they're interested in based on the content that they're looking at. And so I was obviously running this technology business, this software business, so we decided to partner and build a prototype of the where to buy service, using his experience and his background in other companies to guide us as to what the initial prototype should do.
So how has ChannelSight evolved from its original premise, and how would you describe its current service offering today?
Well, what we do is we work with primarily large international brands to help them understand whether or not their marketing is working or not, and how to optimize their performance. So we have a where to buy service, which kind of is directly related to what it was in 2013, where we enable brands to put this where to buy, this call to action button on all of their digital content. So that could be social media or video or their website or any other digital content that they have, so that when a user is looking at that content and they decide that they want to buy the product that they're looking at, we give them a fast, frictionless way where they can find that product in a retailer that's local or relevant to them, be that online or offline. But what we've done is we've built a retailer network of thousands of retailers, so we're able to get data back about whether or not an individual lead that goes over to a retailer from some of this content has resulted in a sale. So that means we have really uniquely compelling data about what trends are happening with a brand's content and what's driving sales, and most importantly, what isn't.
Talk to us about how the software actually works, because in today's world, many businesses feel that they have access to that type of data through the likes of Google Analytics.
Yeah, so if you have as a brand, if you have a website and you're selling D2C, which is direct to consumer, If you run a Google ad and you have Google Analytics enabled, you can see everybody who's clicked on that ad and gone through to your website and made a purchase. So you have complete visibility over that buying funnel or that path to purchase. What we do is we extend that same visibility into the channel. So brands don't have visibility if they're running on their own website or on an ad or other content on social media or wherever. They don't have visibility whether somebody clicks on an ad and then goes over to Amazon or Currys or DID or wherever and makes a purchase. They don't know whether that purchase or that click resulted in a sale. So what we're doing is we're giving access to help them optimize this digital shelf, this online shelf or digital shelf, by showing them what is working to drive sales in the channels.
And how would you describe the target market for ChannelSight? And talk to us about some of the companies that you now call clients.
Yeah, sure. So we have a very sticky service because once brands start using us, they tend to want to stay, and because of the kind of unique data that we can provide. So our first 3 clients back in 2014 were Philips, Bosch, Siemens, the Mondelez. We've expanded. We're working in about 70 countries now. We have about 280 odd brands that we're working with. So we're working with Intel, Microsoft, Kerry Group here in Ireland. So there's a lot of brands, most of them internationally.
And what impact has it had on these clients, and how are they running more effective marketing campaigns as a result?
Well, what we're enabling them to do is really see whether a marketing campaign or right down to an individual piece of content is working to drive sales. So some brands are more focused on brand building campaigns, and that's absolutely fine. We've got kind of a shoppable media product for them. But at the most basic level, what we're looking to do is take content that a brand is pushing out, be it ads or anything else, and show them if it's working to drive sales. So we're enabling them to basically turn off ads and content creation that isn't working to drive sales and ramp up investments in the content and the ads that are working to drive sales. But then we also expand that into what I talked about a second ago, which was this digital shelf. So if a brand's ranking for search placement for particular products, or particularly their what we call hero products or their main or most important products, is low on a particular retailer, then we can help them understand why that is. Because if they're on page 37 of the search results on a retailer for a generic term like crisps or chocolate, then you can assume that placement isn't going to be driving a lot of sales. So it's about us helping them to holistically understand what they need to do across their digital shelf to maximize the return on investment that they get.
And what range of channels are you in a position to provide this data for?
Any digital channel. So it's really, we're completely agnostic about where the clicks happen. So we can attach our API, our content or our widget via any number of different ways to any digital content that a brand is pushing out. And that means that we have the flexibility to track campaigns across any channel, really, any digital channel.
And John, what is the current focus of your research and development budget?
So we're continuing to invest very heavily in digital shelf technology and advancing the capabilities that we're able to offer the different brands that we're working with on that digital shelf. So I talked about already some of the things that we've done. We're also layering in competitive analysis to enable brands to understand where their competitors are sitting for the same kind of search terms, or with ratings, reviews, with other elements of the digital shelf, where their competitors are stacking up versus them. And again, while that might not be relevant for every product, if a brand has 200,000 products or SKUs, it is very relevant for these hero products, or for the most important products that a brand is pushing out there. They're very interested to understand where their competition is as well. So it's about investing in continuing to advance our strategic advantage by investing in that digital shelf capability further.
And of course, as part of your service offering, you have insight into phenomenal data from some of the world's leading brands. So what are the emerging trends that you're seeing that might be of benefit to Irish retailers listening this morning?
There's a lot happening at the moment, obviously, in the macroeconomic situation, whether it's inflation or supply chain issues that are underlying it. There's an awful lot going on. What we've seen at the moment, one of the key trends that we're seeing is an abundance of stock. So storage is in very short supply. We're seeing brands who have been stockpiling as a result of previous supply chain challenges, they now have a glut of stock, and they're trying to get that to market in a way that doesn't flood the market and negatively impact price. So what we're seeing now is an ability for retailers to potentially negotiate better discounts for their purchases, for their stock purchases. We're also, I expect to see a much more spread out holiday season this year across Europe and all of the West, across the US, etc. So what that will lead to is not just like the Black Friday heavily discounted days, but you'll have discounted purchases over a longer period of time, longer running sales, as brands try to facilitate a squeezed consumer to make those purchases that they may want to make or be compelled to make coming up to Christmas, but may not have the budget to do so as their finances under pressure.
And what insights can you provide with regard to your own clients when it comes to marketing, their marketing activity, how that's changing, and especially in relation to some of the channels that they're putting an increased budget into?
Well, I think really since the pandemic, that so much has changed as brands were initially forced to go online almost exclusively in some cases. So where you had a complete shutdown, you had brands being forced to use online as their main channel to market, whereas previously it might have accounted for 10%. It was up to 50 or 60%. And so we had kind of 5 to 10 years of growth in the e-commerce market and particularly in how brands think about the strategic value of their online go-to-market channel. And so what we've seen now is a continuation of that beyond the pandemic. So brands are continuing to invest strategically in their online go-to-market. And I don't expect that to slow down. In fact, I expect that to accelerate further.
And from your insights into your own client base again, what online channels are performing best for them?
So what we've seen is direct-to-consumer by brands actually falling away a little bit. That hasn't been maintained as much as many expected it to be, and the retailer channel as continuing to show its dominance. So key retailers like Amazon and Walmart in the US, they are continuing to experience significant growth and putting smaller retailers under pressure. So smaller retailers need to compete better, but there is the willingness of people to spend there. People are used to buying things online and are willing to do so for a much broader range of things than they may have been willing to do so maybe just 3 years ago.
And John, is there a risk that some of these retailers become over-reliant on some of these platforms like Amazon and eBay and Etsy and others?
Well, absolutely. I think particularly for the likes of Amazon, Jeff Bezos' quote, your margin is my opportunity, is kind of chilling for many to hear. If you look at the likes of batteries as one particular example, so you had the major battery companies like Duracell and Eveready using Amazon as a main channel to market, and then they were completely disrupted when Amazon came out with their Amazon Basics batteries and recommended these. So if you search for Duracell, you see ads for much cheaper Amazon Basics batteries. So yes, brands have to be extremely careful how much they kind of put their eggs in one basket and make sure to be spreading that risk. So that's why I would always recommend a direct-to-consumer channel, even if it's non-strategic or only a minor part of it. Have that direct-to-consumer channel where you're selling to customers, you're getting that feedback. Even if it's only a small amount, you can touch that customer and see directly what they think. And then, again, spread out your risk as much as possible. Sell across multiple platforms and provide an excellent experience for customers. Don't treat it as a kind of an afterthought and sell on as many channels and as many large retailers as you can.
And just on that point, something else that comes to mind to me now in relation to, purchasing online, there's a very, very smooth process, usually up to the point of making the purchase. But after that, if something goes wrong, it's quite often very difficult to get in touch with these online retailers. Most of them don't have any phone number published. Lots of them have no email address, and maybe you're dealing with an artificial intelligence-driven web chat facility on their website. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on the retailer. I mean, retailers like Amazon have a what I would describe as best in class, feedback for after purchase experience. They're quick to refund. They sort out disputes very, very quickly. and usually in the consumer's favour. Smaller retailers, and we've seen it in Ireland, smaller retailers sometimes struggle to provide the level of service that would be expected, and particularly where there's a dispute over shipping costs, or whether the colour was the wrong colour, or was it just how it looked on the screen. There's these kind of grey area, who's to blame kind of questions. My advice to brands would be always try and give the consumer the best possible experience. Have them going wow, rather than kind of whinging about your brand, because in the long run, while this may be a particular a sale that you don't make money on, this is how you build a brand and online, and how you go to market. You have to offer tracked shipping, very high quality shipping. Short term, I buy it, can it ship the same day? Can it be delivered the next day? You're competing with the best. You're competing with Amazon. It's very, very difficult. You may not make a huge amount of money from it, but that's what you're up against. So there's no point in kind of coming in with a half-baked offering that just isn't going to stack up.
And John, ChannelSight recently secured $7 million in debt financing. So how will this money be used to accelerate the growth of the business?
Yeah, so really, we brought this money in to enable us to navigate whatever comes. So we didn't need the money as such, but it's really to navigate whatever comes over the next couple of years. And what we're also looking for now is we're ahead of a further financing next year is M&A opportunities. So I think there's going to be a lot of very interesting technology businesses that are out there that are looking for cash, and they may not be able to get it in over the next year or two. And they provide an opportunity for us to accelerate with inorganic growth through acquisitions as well. So we're kind of building a bit of a war chest to be able to do that, while also continuing to invest heavily in our own homegrown solution. And
John, finally, are you building this business to keep it or to sell it?
Well, we're venture backed, so we have venture capital partners on board, so our journey has been predestined. We will be building to have a liquidity event or a sale of some sort at some point in the future. We have an excellent board. We have brilliant investors. We've been oversubscribed for every round we've gone to market to raise money for. So we've been very fortunate in being able to select our preferred investors. So while everybody understands that this is a business that we're growing to ultimately have some sort of exit event, my view is that there's plenty of runway left in this journey, and there's a huge amount of white space in the market. So we're certainly not in any rush.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was John Beckett from ChannelSight, and I look forward to hearing about the upward trajectory of the business as it grows within this exciting space. We're almost at closing time here now at Business Matters, but before we go, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my production team, my guests for their contribution, and especially you as always for listening. Join me again next Saturday morning when we'll hear more from the world of business, but until then, have a great week.